So it currently looks like MMORPGs are making a comeback, and a huge comeback at that. We have classic hardcore. The World of Warcraft private server scene is absolutely booming. We have new MMORPGs like Chrono Odyssey, the new Lord of the Rings game, Ashes of Creation, and there are probably way more that I have missed. And now the newest, and honestly this could be super hype depending on how it turns out, but Dune Awakening, an MMORPG based in Dune. This could be absolutely amazing. Oh, that's the sound of the Dune helicopter. What's it called? Wow. Concept art looking okay. Also pretty loud. Okay, you got your classic mouse movement.
My name's Joel Bylos. I'm the creative director on Dune Awakening. So Dune Awakening is a survival, open world, massively multiplayer game. It is a game where players are invited to explore the world of Dune. They involve themselves in politics, they involve themselves in intrigue, they involve themselves in combat. They have to survive on the most dangerous planet in the universe. And through this...
Okay, so, first of all, what I'm hearing already honestly seems good. Because Dune on Arrakis is all about, one, survival, and, well, it's all about the spice. It's all about the spice, baby, at the end of the day. So, it's a lot of politics and intrigue. So, he's already saying good words.
Experience, they come to know the factions in the world and the universe.
More mouse movement, classic stuff right there, boys.
So, when Dune Awakening begins,
you
are a castaway on the planet in the deep desert, and all you have is a knife that you've made out of scrap metal. And you need to creep into enemy camps and knife them in the back and steal the water from their steel suits. By the end of the game, perhaps you're running again. You have a fleet of vehicles. Ornithopters flying in formation.
Ornithopters, there we go.
Sandbikes cruising across the desert beneath them, tanks kicking up a cloud of dust as you drive to a spice blow in the distance.
Nice.
To harvest with your guild. And you see in the distance another guild coming towards you, and just as you clash, you hear the...
And a sandworm. There we go. Boy! Yeah. Okay, so currently, it's just concept art, but honestly, this looks good. What they're saying looks good.
My name is Viljar Sommerbach. I'm the game director on Dune Awakening. You start out in the desert, surviving.
This looks like in-game footage.
In the end, you might become someone like the Baron Harkonnen, and then you try to cling to power. Arrakis is the most dangerous planet in the universe. Surviving on Arrakis means that you need to prepare for sandstorms, you need to find water. It's a constant threat against survival. Water discipline is an important part of survival. In the beginning, it might just be water for yourself. In the end, you might need industrial levels of water because you have industrialized your base. And the storms are an important part of survival as well. You have to find shelter in the beginning. You have nothing to...
When he means industrial levels of water, I honestly am hoping that we take prisoners and literally just use them as water factories or something like that, because that would be very Dune-ish. I would like that.
Your name. After a while, you will have a base. And
a bit edgy, but still.
A bigger base, so that doesn't become as important. But then you always have to go out in the desert and make sure that you can compete against the desert. In the end, you might even be riding the storms of the desert to actually gain access to unique resources. But you always need to return, and every time you go out, you have to be careful of the worm. Because if you get caught by the worm, there will be nothing left of you, and you will leave nothing behind.
With Dune, we have a particular focus on a style of combat that we like to call combined arms, and it takes all of the elements that players would expect from the books and the movies, and it puts them together in this great chaotic kind of experience. So we have vehicle combat, we have abilities that you might see in the great schools in the Dune universe. We have melee combat and we have range combat, and all of these things.
It makes sense, because if you don't know Dune, you know there are a lot of things that are pretty much akin to magic from our understanding from the Bene Gesserit and whatnot. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Obviously, you can have strange abilities. That would be interesting.
Together to create both player versus environment, PvE kind of combat, as well as massive PvP battles for players to participate in. And it's the combination of these things that really makes it feel like sandbox combat, where players have the ability to, pick their loadouts and see how they go into battle.
We have a broad spectrum of combat capabilities. We have melee weapons like knives and swords. We have range weapons. Then we have ground vehicles and air vehicles. They all come with configurable capabilities like las guns, rockets, miniguns, things like that.
Okay.
You will be fighting on foot, you'll be driving vehicles, you'll be flying in ornithopter, and it all comes together there. The more coordinated you are, the better it is. The better prepared you are, the better it will be. If you're playing with someone for the first time, or you
sounds a bit currently like Ark Evolution. No, yeah. What was the names? Ark Survival. That's the one. Sounds a little bit like this, and if it is like that, but on Arrakis, gonna be pretty good. Gonna be honestly pretty good, probably.
You didn't prepare properly. It will be chaotic, but if you prepare, if you coordinate, then
fighting
you
in the
perform with lethal
sandstorm
efficiency.
So, the world of Arrakis is full of political intrigue, and we have this fantastic concept from the stories called Canley. And Canley is basically the rules of engagement. It's this thing called the Great Convention that defines areas of the world where players are allowed to interact in different ways. So in Dune Awakening, players will have different areas of the world that are enabled for example, full player versus player combat, and areas that are safer and that are patrolled by Sardaukar troops and kept safe. And so players really have this sort of free opportunity within the sandbox to find the locations where they can fight with each other, or to stay in the locations where they're safer, right? And that's up to the player and how they want to approach it.
This is I think a good approach, because in all of those games like Rust and whatnot, there are people who want to play the game, but they don't really want to do the PvP aspect. They don't really want to do the raiding aspect. They kind of just want to, make a base, okay? That's what they want to do, and there's nothing wrong with that. But they really can't, because they're just going to be raided, and, that kind of completely takes the wind out of their sails to play. So, having zones that are safer and people can't just absolutely just put you over and spank you is kind of a nice thing, I guess.
In Dune Awakening, we've got many different types of weapons from across the universe, drawing upon the books and the movies. We have las guns, Mauler pistols,
Hunter Seekers,
scatter guns, pellet guns. In addition, we have all of the sort of melee weapons you'd expect to see.
Bruh, they need to implement Hunter Seekers, and then some people in the PvP zone just make 1,000,000 Hunter Seekers and just let them rip. That would be hilarious.
Knives and kinjals and short swords and rapiers, and in addition to that, of course, we also have abilities that players can learn through the great schools of the universe, such as Mentat abilities or Bene Gesserit skills. You can fight other players wearing Holtzman
Mentat abilities? Mentats are just, human computers, pretty much. So, what exactly are you gonna learn from the Mentats?
Shields. There's a system involved where people will want to get close because the slow blade penetrates. And so you want to use melee to get through a shield in a duel like that. And of course, like if people don't have shields, because shields draw the sandworm, you want to make sure that you use ranged weapons. So there's a real interplay between systems, between the way that shields interact with both the world and the environment with sandworms, and also how they interact in close personal combat. Anytime that you step onto the sands of Arrakis, you risk drawing the worm.
Yes, makes sense.
By driving vehicles.
Yes.
On the surface, you can
go on
that by using shields or suspensor belts. Holtzman technology will draw the worm.
And that looks pretty good, though. Not gonna lie. So currently it looks pretty decent. I like how, by the way, every gaming developer studio nowadays just shows them, oh yeah, look at that, we have a controller here because our developers are gamers. They sometimes use controllers to test their games. Look at that. That's a... I don't know what this is supposed to be, but that's a thing that gamers have. We're such gamers. Trust us, bro. I hate when they do that. I absolutely hate it.
Dune Awakening is built upon a foundation of 5 pillars. Survival, which is obviously
Good.
everything you'd expect to see in a survival game. It's water discipline, it's the surviving the sandstorms that sweep across Arrakis. Then we have politics and intrigue, which speaks to the faction gameplay of the game.
Nice.
It's about, you know, siding with one of the factions, thinking about how they work together, perhaps assassinating members of the other factions. Then there's infinite exploration. Infinite exploration, which is one of the things I'm most excited about, is how the world changes over time. We have a concept called a Coriolis storm, and when it sweeps across the landscape, the sands shift.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Because when he said, well, we're gonna have worms here, right? Dude, those things are giant, okay? They are gonna... There's no way the land will not change if the worms are present. So that's a kind of a big thing. This also sounds cool, you know, it's like a reset mechanic. Very nice, very nice.
Hiding others, making the game renewed every week. Then we have combined arms. Combined arms is our combination of vehicles, melee combat, range combat, and abilities all working together.
Dude, this looks
to create a
nice.
seamless sandbox combat experience. And finally, we have expression and customization.
The question is this Unreal 5? Because if it is, oh, we can expect good things, boys.
Which is really more than just talking about like the visual expression and customization, which of course we have armor sets and clothing and a robust character creation. But in addition to that, it's really about play the way you want to play. Do you want to be a trader? You can do that.
Nice.
Do you want to be a fighter? Of course you can do that. Do you want to be a spy? Maybe that's the gameplay you're looking for. All of these things.
It sounds a little bit like they're going for some kind of Albion Online type of gameplay a little bit that you can do. You know, there's a lot of things you can do in that game, which is not bad, but it's a bit risky. It's a bit risky. But currently, everything I'm hearing does sound good. Yo, did these guys make Anarchy Online? Did they? I played that game. I loved Anarchy Online. That was the best stuff ever. That game was so complex and you didn't understand anything. But that game was cool when I was a kid.
But we were learning on the job to a large extent. As Funcom now has a long track record of MMOs, we know we're not
the greatest MMOs though, technically.
Challenges relating to server technology, to relating to player population balancing, with relating to the RPG aspects of it. So everything that went into the earlier MMOs that we did comes into play here. We are taking it a lot further though, because we're not a traditional MMO in the sense that there's combat in our game is much more second to second and intense than you would find in an MMO, for instance.
That's nice.
It's much based on the second to second experience, how melee, how ranged, how gadgets and abilities, how ground vehicles, how air vehicles, how it comes together in the ultimate challenge that is getting spice.
In Dune Awakening, PvP is about large-scale competition and small-scale competition. Players in guilds competing for spice resources in the world, and our PvP.
And yes, obviously the end game is going to be spice. Did you expect anything else?
It can be done on many levels between players, right? It doesn't necessarily mean players killing players. It can also be players out intriguing other players, finding ways to give them false information, tricking them into...
Sounds a little bit like EVE Online. Okay,
like misleading them into looking at in an enemy base for the wrong thing, right? In our game, spice is obviously a very important mechanic, as it is in Frank Herbert's stories. As players consume spice, they unlock the ability to level up skills in the game. And those skills, as you train them, you choose...
Does that mean that spice consumption is going to be a constant thing that you need to do? Otherwise, you're going to get weakened and like get debuffs and things, because spice addiction is a thing. Nice.
Which ones to train? You have active skill training. As you train those skills, the more spice you consume, the more you're allowed to train. If you don't have a lot of spice in your blood, you obviously can't train as much. However, this also comes at the cost of becoming woefully addicted to spice.
Yes,
so
let's go!
We've divided that into 4 parts. We think of them as survive, protect, expand, control. The survive part means that you're up against the planet itself and you're clinging onto life. In the protect phase, you've gathered some stuff, you might have a base, but you also want to make sure that nobody else comes to take it away from you, so you try to build defenses and make sure that your base is in the clear. Then, in the expand phase, you lift your gaze and you look around and you see that others have stuff as well, and you might want to take their stuff. Then, in the control phase, you may find yourself being a part of a guild or even the leader of a guild. Then, the goal is to control the flow of spice on Arrakis. However, you're never safe.
The spice
There's
must
always
flow.
someone lurking around the corner. Can you really trust your second in command? So, the goal of the control phase is that you are clinging to control. In Dune Awakening, we have a wide array of combat capabilities.
Doesn't look bad, honestly.
Infantry consists of melee with knives, swords. You have ranged weaponry, gas-powered,
Alpha
las
footage.
guns. You have gadgets, you have abilities, and building on that, we have ground vehicles, we have air vehicles with their own combat capabilities. And when all of this comes together, you'll find yourself in the desert, in a spice harvesting operation, and there might be another guild attacking you to get your spice. And whenever you get into combat in the desert of Arrakis, try to get it over with quickly, because not only are you fighting human combatants, but the planet Arrakis itself is the greatest protagonist there is. As you're fighting in the desert, there might be a sandstorm rolling in, and the sandworm will be attracted to the vibrations that you cause. So get it over with quickly, and then return to solid ground.
Is terraforming gonna be a thing, at least on a small scale? That's a good question. Is that it?
I mean, I love to interact with the community. You should join us on our Discord channel.
Yep, that's it. Wow, sounds good. Sounds good. Sounds pretty interesting. I would love if this was something like, I don't know, Ark Survival Evolution plus Rust plus, I don't know, maybe a bit of Anarchy Online plus EVE Online. That would be amazing, you know? Because, for example, I haven't played EVE, but if you have watched videos what happens in that game, dude, the intrigue, the stuff, the betrayal, the things that happen in EVE are better than in any movie, okay? And if this could be like a bigger, more popular, technically easier EVE, that would be amazing. That would be absolutely amazing. I would love that. I'm sure everyone would love that, honestly. But yeah, we have a lot to look forward. Because what I heard currently sounds kind of very in line with, you know, about the Dune universe. Except mentat abilities, like, what? They're living calculators, dude. There's not exactly a lot of mentating to do, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, this was Quizzer Sid saying thanks for watching, subscribe if you haven't already, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.